Congratulations, by the way. I don't think I ever got a chance to tell you about being the assistant coach for the PBLA Binghamton Bombers.
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise to me too. I Neil kind of just hit me with it. I was like, oh, sure,
Yeah, I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, obviously, you're like, oh, yeah, most definitely.
yeah. I mean, it was. I kind of had to talk with the family a little because not a lot of people know on the team and stuff. But I have 6 kids,
Oh, my goodness.
so I have I have a full load. So it's
Wow.
kind of
Congratulations on that as well. 6 kids. I don't know how you
yeah.
fit it all in there.
Oh, it's just say I never sit down about that.
I guess so. Yeah. So, what do you do for work, too, full time?
I'm a IBEW local 43 electrician.
Oh, okay. I was a laborer out of 190. It's been a while since I've had to do it. So now, where do you actually live? Are you close to Utica or?
No, I live on Onondaga Reservation.
So it's a little bit of a drive for you.
Hello.
Hi, I can
Oh,
hear somebody.
yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
hi,
How are
girls.
you?
I'm
What's your
doing good. How are you?
What's your name?
This
My
is
name,
Greg.
Greg.
Yeah, Greg.
Yes.
He has to have a Yeti.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the Yeti hat. See, I got my Yeti jersey on.
So
That's how
Yep.
I know your
See,
dad.
he's got the Yeti jersey on. See?
you have a Yeti,
I got a Yeti jersey on. And then that's the team that your dad coaches for. That's why that's behind me right now.
and there was a Yeti on the game
I
from
know.
you.
Yep.
You want the Yeti?
I'm not the Yeti. The Yeti's magical. Oh man, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Now, how old's your oldest?
My oldest is 21.
My goodness, so you have kids older than some of your Yeti teammates.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Oh man.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
Now,
it's a pretty big opportunity for everybody.
yeah, you ain't kidding. Now what was your lacrosse journey leading up to? Like, what did you do before the Yeti, essentially lacrosse wise? Because I mean, it was a lifetime for you, but did you play pro anywhere? Did you play college?
I never made it to the pro level. Um, I guess ultimately I could have. I kind of had family things and other life things going on, I guess, that prevented me. But I was my last time playing was really like competitively was in 2010, and I played for the Onondaga Redhawks, and we went over to British Columbia to play the President's Cup championship, and we won. And then I kind of hung it up after that. I had a lot going on,
Yeah.
and then Neil got a hold of me again, and Neil was like, "Hey, you should come try out for the Yeti." And I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "We're looking at 12 years." I'm like, I don't know, man. But after that first freaking practice and tryout, every joint in my body was aching and hurting, and but I knocked the rust off, and it was good. I'm glad I came back.
Oh
It
man,
was it was fun.
that's awesome. That's yeah, that's crazy. So I've heard that from quite a few guys. Is that was kind of their summary basically was a lot of guys kind of played and then kind of hadn't for a while, and then the Yeti was a chance for everybody to get back playing competitive again.
Yeah. Yep.
So how long did you play for the Red Hawks?
Um, I played for the Red Hawks since I was 8 years old. So you're talking, I don't know, 20, 22 years, 24 years, something like that.
Wow, yeah, that's what's
'Cause I,
crazy is though that's like the difference though with the box lacrosse IQ you can see with a lot of these guys is a lot of the Eddie player are field players who are trying to transition into box, and
yeah,
it's been a learning curve. And like I didn't get to see the first year where like some of these guys really like I guess Blaine didn't play as much, and like getting to watch him from the beginning of this year in Suits when Suits was healthy and watching those guys and what you guys have like how you've brought those guys around, but then there's still like you watch Alex and Ty with their stick, and you're like, oh, that's what a lifetime of it is versus years of it. And like Neil out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of running in this league. Like just the format they have for us. Because I initially signed up to be a player, and then Neil kind of talked me out of it, and I kind of thought about it too. I'm like, yeah, it is going to be a lot of running. I guess not that I couldn't do it. Just I don't know. 30 years or 10 years ago, maybe I would have probably gave it a good run. But
well, and it's a lot
things
easier.
are falling apart on me a little bit.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier. You got to imagine, like after you put the kids to bed, like this time of night. Now you're giving me a little bit of time, but it's a little easier to watch game footage and kind of get caught up than it is to convince yourself to go for a sprint after a day of work and dealing with the kids. And
Yeah, yeah. I would get home from work, and then I'd go running, and then do some workouts, and then try to catch all the kids' sports activities and get everybody set with homework, and it's a busy schedule.
yeah, now so this was you didn't play for the Yeti last year. This was your first year back,
Yes, yep, my first year, yep.
and it was just Neil giving you a phone call saying, "Hey, you should come out and give it a shot," or
Yeah, he just said, "Hey, I'm playing for the Yeti, and you should just stop out the tryouts and check it out." And I I didn't really know what to expect. I just kind of was like, "Yeah, I guess so." I mean, because they have that Syracuse Eels team here, but um, I just wasn't too sure about it. I don't know. I didn't really hear anything from them about it, and I knew Neil liked it out in Utica, so I figured I'd come out there and give it a go.
yeah, like I said, the first time I met you off the or well, without your helmet on, essentially, when I saw you talking with Neil, is it surprised me that you were, you know, older than me because like the way you play, your emotional level out there, and I really when I rewatch some of the footage, like you don't get penalties, but you are always like on the cusp of like you're always under the guy's skin. Like every little scrum that seems to be involved on the field, like they are always like they seem to center around you, but you never seem to find your way to the box. So that was my the
Yeah,
most impressive thing. Like you play with an emotion on your sleeve, like you're one of like a 20-year-old kid, but you play that fine line so well of staying out of the box and kind of just is that just a lifetime of playing and that's the passion you
that
play with?
um, I mean, it's a passion that I've always played with, and I've learned to even like with certain referees of what you can and can't get away with, and I got I don't know a million tricks up my sleeve to get at somebody without the ref seeing. And my job has always been to get I can beat on somebody for 4 periods or 3 periods, whatever kind we're playing, and by that last period they're gonna feel it, and so they end up coming at me and getting penalties, and I know how to outsmart people, I guess, so to speak, and keep my cool.
Yeah, and you do a great job at it. Like I said, at that very last in the playoff game for the to go to the championship there. No surprise that you're right in the corner in the middle of the scrum, but you guys and like the that's where your maturity really kind of showed through though because you made it well known, hey, we're not going to tolerate any of this, but you weren't in there throwing punches, you weren't trying to rip guys apart. You that
Yeah,
maturity that you have really shows, and I'm really excited to see you coaching in this league because I mean what you guys did as players with the Yeti and like how far you guys have brought that team along. I think it's going to be amazing to see what you guys can accomplish this year.
yeah. I mean, I'm hoping so. I'm looking forward to the season. I'm really excited. We got a ton of good players. It's it's going to be tough because we got to cut guys. I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough thing to handle too. I don't.
Yeah, it's gonna be. So this week's training camp, as opposed to last week's, Neil said there was about 10 guys you were missing from the training camp. So do you know what that puts you guys? Is that right to the 35 max that you guys now got to get under for?
It puts us at about 30 guys. I think we're at something like that. So we're supposed to have everybody but two guys there this week. So we'll have 28 guys, I believe. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a awful tough combine week. So what did you think is your first chance as a pro coach, your first combine? How was that experience?
Um, it was interesting, I guess, to be. I mean, I've coached kids, younger kids, and stuff along the way, but I guess being there, talking to grown men and coaching, I don't know. It was I liked it actually a lot. It it's a good opportunity. Like,
It's got to be an awesome experience. I mean, getting to coach now. I mean, so you played alongside Jimmy Fay. You know, you played against
yeah,
alongside Brian Gonzola, and not so much like Jimmy Fay. He's been playing lacrosse for a long time, and he's been playing box for a while now. But Gonzola, same thing. He's been playing for a while, and he actually played box as a kid. And now to get to see this as a pro opportunity to a kid that's in that kind of shape, that's got to be really cool to be a part of. I'm guessing you're going to be the defensive side of the floor is more your specialty.
yeah, yeah. That's where Neil pointed me to. But I can literally, I've always been a guy to I can go both sides of the floor. Um, I've always been a guy when if I have guys hurt or like on offense, I can go down and replace them. I've always been a guy that can do what my team needs, I guess.
Yeah,
So if
I
my
mean,
team needs me to play offense or defense or
you did have a hat
get
trick
a
in
ground ball,
you had a hat trick in the first Oswego game, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yep,
mean, yeah, you can definitely play both sides of the floor. I just had seen
yep,
you working with more of the defensive guys there last week when you guys were kind of, and then I really was excited to watch the speed out there on the floor, though. That's what I'm wondering is where some of these older guys in the league think they can kind of keep spots with some of these kids. Because I mean, wow, there was
yeah.
lot of speed out there on the floor last weekend.
Oh, it kind of brings me back and gets me pumped and hyped up. Even other coaches were saying they're like, I just want to put my pads on. It's hard to not like get in there, I guess, and watch it. It's always hard to watch, I guess.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. And that's like me is like I'm watching the scrimmages and I'm seeing all these amazing plays. And I had talked to everybody and I was like, yeah, I'll film the scrimmages and like I sent your guys's to you and I sent the other team the other ones. And yeah, it's tough not to want to post like a bunch of the highlights and the footage and stuff because the skill level out there on the floor is just oh my,
Yeah,
yeah. I think the fans are really going to be in for a shock. I don't know if they're expecting it to be at the level that I think it's going to be at, especially when you watch, like you said, you guys were missing 4 or 5 of your better, um, players, and then
yeah,
and the level to still be at that level was pretty impressive. And I don't know, I know Neil and you guys had talked about not really trying to watch the Syracuse stuff too much out of respect for them, but I did watch the Syracuse, and wow, those guys are fast as well. I think it's going to be a yeah, they even had a little, fisticuffs in their practice. They got a very emotional team.
oh yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, yeah, they had a couple seconds there. I was like, oh, we got to get this. Yeah, I only showed a couple seconds of it. I didn't really want to give away anybody's practice or practice fights,
Yeah,
but I just figured it'd be cool for the league because I mean, and guys are out there and they're like you said, these training camps, but guys are playing for spots, man. You're playing for livelihood.
yeah,
You're, you know, to be able to go through a season making the league minimum of 500 a game. So if you got a game a week versus going another season with that many weeks without that 500 a week. That's some serious coin you're talking about for.
yeah. Hell yeah. I
I
mean,
not to mention just the chance to play pro lacrosse, but I mean even $500 a week is that's nothing to sneeze at. So I mean yeah, the training
yeah.
camp. I really wish I could to drive out there again this weekend to Utica because man, that was fun to watch last weekend. I'd like to get a couple more interviews. I didn't even really get a chance to talk to you because by the time we were running around and I had to be in Troy by a certain time in the afternoon, so it was just a
Oh
mess.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
last
Because
minute.
I'm doing.
Oops.
Oh, I'm I'm doing general manager responsibilities too. So I got double duties, and it's kind of that's a lot going on.
So you're the GM for the Bombers as well there?
Yeah, yep, yep.
Well, congratulations. Jeepers. How do you yeah, now I really don't know how you fit it all in. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me for a little while here. You guys are doing this league and this is awesome. I've gotten to meet so many cool guys like you. Like that's my favorite part about this is like you have been playing lacrosse since you were 8 years old, and now here you are, never really like trying to follow the path of becoming a pro lacrosse player or pro coach. And just through sheer playing the game for so long, so much love of the sport, and going out for the Yeti again, it was like, oh wait, now all this stuff's kind of fallen into place, and I just think it's cool, and I really hope this
Yeah.
league makes it and you guys do really well this year. Obviously I hope you guys win because you guys have the most Yeti players and you and Neil coaching it. So I'll be definitely cheering hard for the Bombers. I'm going to try to get a deal where I can get out there at least a few of the games. Maybe you guys can hook me up with a press pass or something cool.
Oh yeah, that definitely. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do like I'll try to touch base with one of you guys a week at least, like after your games, and be like, hey, what's going on? Update on the players and everything, and then me and Paul are gonna do the Yeti talk. But
Oh yeah.
I got a very serious question for you though. I think it was Sully told me you played a game in Timberland work boots.
It wasn't Timberland. It was Columbia's. There were hiking boots.
Hiking boots.
So so right now it's like I was looking for turf shoes or something because my turf shoes were something happened to them, and I was leaving them outside on my trailer outside to dry off, and I think the sun like heated up and did something to the rubber, and they were like slick, like
They
it
were
felt
like,
like ice skates,
yeah.
and I'm like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? And I couldn't find turf shoes, and I'm like, and I had my hiking boots, and they kind of got like a turf shoe on the bottom, and I'm like, I wonder if these will work. So I just tried them out, and they work great, and I'm like, and they're light. They were a lot lighter than they look, but it was pretty hilarious. Everybody was like, "Are you wearing boots?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm wearing boots."
What game was that?
That was the championship game against
That
Syracuse.
was the championship game. So
Yeah.
Sully made it sound like it was like the first game. He made it sound to me like you had just showed up and never played on turf before. So we're like, oh, maybe I'll try these. So the championship, because I looked through the entire first Collar City game, and I was like, no way. I was like, that's not boots. And I kept looking through the other games. Oh my god, I wish I had checked the championship for it. I'll have to look.
It's yeah. If you look at the pictures that Murphy took, he's got a couple close-ups of me with the boots on. You can see me running down the floor. It was pretty hilarious.
Oh my goodness, I wish I had known that. Oh my, yeah, I'll do, yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of those. Wow, yeah.
I even had spectators come up to me and they're like, because I had people didn't know I was playing from the hometown, and when I got in a scuffle there, someone knocked my helmet off. They're like, What's this guy doing? He's wearing boots." And then my helmet came off. They're like, "Hey, I know that guy." They're like, "Oh, he's pretty serious out there. He's got his boots on."
Oh my goodness. Oh, and that's what I
But
love. And you guys won that game, so that was cool.
yeah,
And then
that was a big game. We came up big.
yeah, that has a lot to do with I think having you, Neil, Ty, Alex, and having the guys there with that box experience. Um, and it really is a different level from the reservation teams to looking at most other teams across the country. The Canadian box youth program kind of mimics some of the Utica Nath or the native youth like sports, like the junior and senior programs, but our lacrosse in most of the United States is just abysmal compared to what it
Yeah,
is on the reservations in Canada. That
yeah.
box, I can't believe I never heard of box until when the Firewolves came down. When they just
Oh,
had their team. I never even knew
oh,
what it
really?
was. Yeah, my very first ever. That's probably why I love this sport so much. My very first time ever watching a box lacrosse game was a Firewolves game there, and then I went out the next it was like the next week I went out to Rome to film one of the practices of the Yetis, and it was just like the pickup floor night, and I had never seen nothing like it. I've watched lacrosse and I played in college for Paul, but I'd never seen like the I don't know, just that style of it in the rink and the athleticism and like the backyard creativity that comes out to try to beat the goalies with the big pads as opposed to just kind of being able
Yeah.
to rip it low at 100 miles an hour, like as fast as you can from, and it's a lot easier to be able to score in field and to see the creativity. I think is just a way, I don't know. I don't even think it's the same sport as field lacrosse. And yeah, I'm hooked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why when I always hear guys around here or whatever, they're always like, you always ask them like, "Oh, I play box." They're like, "I play box across," and I'm like, "But do you really?" I don't know. I'm like, just because
It's
I've grown up with it and I know what box is, but when I hear them say it, I'm like, "You play field inside. It's
yeah.
not box. It's just field indoors."
But the and the big thing is, so like I got to talk to the Marshall Paulus there. He played for the Basin Bombers, and
Oh
well,
yeah,
yeah, he's playing for Saskatchewan Rush. Well, I didn't
yeah,
know. I like all the people at Laxnai, and I'm so new to box lacrosse. I had no clue who Marshall Paulus was.
yeah.
So like I'm
Oh
just
yeah, he's a big deal.
Oh my God, he is. So I'm just doing the Laxnai highlights, and of course, you watched him play lacrosse, and I was like, wow. So I looked him up on Instagram and was like, I sent him a clip of him, and I from Laxnai, and I was like, hey, is this you? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. And I just kept firing like clips to him, and I was like, this is I was like, wow, you're, amazing. I love watching you play. Maybe you do this little podcast thing I started doing. Never. And he was like, yeah. And so I'm talking to him and I was like, hey, you play for the Saskatchewan Rush? Because like I started Googling his name just before, like 10 minutes before we were talking. And all of a sudden I was like, holy fuck. He plays for Saskatchewan Rush. So then I'm like, how did you get on that team? And he's like, oh, I was drafted. I was like, oh yeah, where? Oh, number 7. Oh, I was like, I just felt like such a like idiot too talking to him, but he was
Yeah.
such a humble,
Oh, he
awesome.
is. Yep.
Oh my God.
He's got an older brother that is playing for Elmira,
Oh really?
Johnny Paulus,
He played for the
and
Nighthawks back in the day, I think too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he played for the Nighthawks. I'm trying to think of who else. He played. He kind of bounced around here and there,
He played for the
but
Nighthawks, and I think it was Georgia he played for a little bit too, maybe not. But man,
yeah,
he because that's what he told me, the Marshall, when I was talking to him. He's like, oh well, my brother played, and then I started researching his brother and him, and I was like, these guys are freaking like amazing lacrosse players.
yep,
And then to watch him the first weekend, and I said to everybody I had talked to beforehand and before I actually knew who he was, and after I knew who he was, I kind of backed off a little bit because I was like, okay, obviously everybody else knows how good this fucking kid is. I don't need to tell anybody. But yeah, so I had told like
yeah,
my wife, I was like watching him in Laxnai, the way he sees the floor and uses that behind the back pass so accurately. I mean, there's a lot of guys that can throw behind the back, but like you watch him, and then Lyle Thompson threw this another one in the NLL this weekend too. But they're throwing it across floor to the back post. I mean, that's
yeah,
through traffic, like, and they're just throwing it in a way that lasers, like most people can barely throw that pass forehanded,
yeah,
without getting it picked. And they
yep,
throw it backhanded, and the way they draw the defense out of the strong side and act like they're driving in, and it's all part of their motion to throw that behind the back. And because that's what I'm
yep,
talking to him, and he's like, yeah, you guys like to call it fancy stuff, but he's like, no, that's what he's like, if you want to be good, you better learn how to throw it, and you better learn how to throw it accurately, and how to not, indicate that you're going to throw it is the only way it really works. And yeah, it was that last night was quite the experience for me. I mean, I'd watched the Yeti games. We did the Nationals out there, but then seeing those last night teams, oh my goodness.
yeah. Because there's a lot of guys that are pro players in that too. It's
Yeah,
Laxnight's huge.
yeah. Chase Scanlon, I had no clue who Chase Scanlon is either because I'm a moron. But yeah, so I was like, same thing. Chase Scanlon starts sending him a couple highlights. I'm like, wow, you're amazing. Da 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 da. He's like, yeah, thanks. And then I'm watching the Vancouver game, and I was like, that's Chase Scanlon.
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't have the best game there the other night, but oh my goodness. So
But that's the thing about lacrosse. That's why you have teammates. So that's what I've always loved about lacrosse too. Is I mean, I guess just like any sport, but sometimes you don't have the best games, and there's always hopefully there's guys around you that pick you up or can kind of I guess replace you or carry you. I guess I don't know either way you look at it.
well, that was I mean, that's probably one of your biggest assets as far as coaching, though. So, I mean, throughout the Yeti year, you had a hat trick. You basically you were the Gordie Howe style player. You know, you could have the hat trick, you could have a fight, you could have the 3 assists for the night. It could go, you might even have the Gordie Howe hat trick, depending on how the night goes. But
Yeah, yeah,
and now getting to coach, and especially in this league, that seems like it's kind of tailored to guys like you, and more that style like you watch. Is it Heine Thompson? I think it's Heine is
oh,
how they say
Heine,
Heine,
yeah,
yeah. So, and that's another one. Now
yeah,
I'm a Firewolves fan because of that, and I watched him play. But like you watched him, and those guys, they all play defense too. They don't just run off the
yeah,
floor. You see the big difference between those players, and then like guys like Lyle who are always playing that two-way. And now you guys,
yeah.
how did you guys and Neil go about finding players to get that style of player on your team, like those grinders that play both sides of the floor and wanna.
And um, I just look for anybody that had like legit box experience, like if they played in the OLA or if they played in Canada. There was a lot of guys on there, like I said, who had that said, "Oh, I played box," and then you would look at the rest of their resume, and it was like, but box lacrosse can turn great athletes into nothing. So if you don't have that box lacrosse IQ, that quick thinking
Well,
and but and then transition players. We look for guys who wrote transition players. That
yeah,
was just
and
that was a big one.
and the like you said, you're looking for athletes. You're looking for guys that have the IQ to be able to know, because so much of that sport is anticipation. Like when I first started watching box, it was so hard to keep up with it at first because you don't understand what's leading up. Like as you start to see this guy kind of, and I mean they're similar to hockey, so I got it kind of quick because I was a long time hockey guy. But there's a lot of the way that backhand pass really completely threw my defensive understanding of the like where you're in defensive positioning. Immediately I was like, wait, that completely changes everything because I'm only playing defense assuming that you're going to have it in this hand, and if you're going to switch hands, you're going to spin all the way around, which gives me a chance to, kind of do it. And to be able to see them throw that around their body like that is like, oh, okay, maybe I really don't understand this position quite like I thought. And
Yeah.
this, yeah, and that's where I think you said that box lacrosse IQ and guys that really have the experience. Now, and that's actually one of my favorite parts about seeing these leagues, though, because there's just so many guys that like if you come out of the senior or the juniors circuit with the juniors team. So what most people don't understand, especially in any part of the United States that doesn't have hockey, is that juniors actually goes till 21. So
Yeah.
most people that are like, wait, why is he a 21-year-old freshman? Well, because that's when juniors ended up in Canada. So now that juniors is over with, he's ready to go to college. And
Yeah. You need something to do.
yeah, and that's kind of how like the junior circuit runs. And then I'm starting to find out more and more that the junior circuit for lacrosse is the same way. It goes right up through junior A, junior B up to 21, and then the senior circuit starts up. And yeah, the uh, the the level though that you get in that, because there's a huge difference between an 18-year-old kid and a 21-year-old
Oh
kid.
yeah. We actually had a team here at Onondaga in the OLA for a while. We were called the Onondaga Warriors, and we did fairly well. But I was like, I want to say 16 or 17 when we started, and that was like across the board. Like a lot of us were just young guys, and they told us that we would be lucky to finish the season at a 500, and we end up making it to almost the finals and playoff, I believe, first year. And but it only last. I think our last year was when I turned 21, and then they told us there was some kind of insurance issue, and they kicked us out of the league.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because, and that's like I've talked to so many guys up there. And I was actually talking to Ron Cogan because he coaches up for the Red Hawks. He said too, and
Yeah,
I told him I want to get up there with that junior circuit. I think if you can get me up there with a camera on some of those kids, because right now you get a handful of colleges, and I understand Bob Leary's going to be mad at me if I send all the kids, out on film crews, and then Bob doesn't get all the kids from
yeah, right, yeah,
Onondaga.
right.
But and no, I don't really think Bob would be mad for anybody who watches this and catches that part, because Bob's too nice of a guy. But I really think if you can get those kids on video and start letting more and more of these colleges see that circuit, because I think you would start. The other thing is after a couple guys did it, you'd get more of these junior lacrosse players that play box lacrosse to start. Well, maybe it's worth it. It's kind of like what Rodney Red Eye's doing with his son, where now he's getting into field because he's getting to that age that he wants to go to college. And it's if you want to go to college, you got to know how to play field. There is no box lacrosse,
Yeah,
unfortunately. But
yeah. That's funny because when I was younger, I remember our coach one day just kind of came out of nowhere and he was like, "Hey guys, we're gonna play field, but we've always played box," and we're kind of like, "Field? What's field?" And which is it's kind of funny because like it's just I guess it's flip flop with us where like everybody grows up playing field and they're like, well, what's box? But to us it was, well, what's field? And then he's like, well, we had to learn all the rules all over. I want to say I was about, I don't know, 10, 12 maybe. But then once we got the rules on, we were like going through to these tournaments and then we were just decimating teams like bad. And the crazy thing was, a lot of times we would show up and be like man down. We wouldn't have enough guys. We would play man down the whole game, and we'd still wipe these teams out. And it would just crazy.
It it really is, because the stick skill that you have to play to be a goal scorer in box lacrosse is a different level of stick skill than you. I'm not saying that a field attackman isn't a great attackman, but there's definitely a huge difference in stick skill needed for it, because I mean
Yeah,
it's a much smaller target, and the passing windows and how crisp you got to be on the passes, because everybody's crammed in so much tighter. And something somebody else brought up to my attention that I didn't really think about was the rebounds of having the hockey style pads, having the big leg pads in front, just having that many extra ground balls in front of the net is like, oh yeah, that's a lot more
you
going
know?
after it. And the ground ball is where in field you can get away with a lot of time using your speed to get a ground ball. Just kind of one hand scoop
Yeah,
off to the races. Box, you don't get a lot of those. You get a couple.
yeah. It's I'd say the aspect of ground balls is tremendously different from field.
You ain't kidding. Now, obviously, I've heard from quite a few guys that grew up playing box. So, do you prefer playing on cement or turf? I would think turf is the easy answer, but
Oh,
see, this is what I mean. Even that it's a consideration to you is just crazy to me.
um, it depends. I guess what kind of turf it is. I don't know because I did grow up on cement, and it seems like it makes the game like faster. Turf feels like it slows it down a little. Um, I don't know, but I guess in an older age, I like turf, getting easier on my joints.
That's all I think about every time I watch you guys out there play. I don't know how you still like go out there and run around, because now my back just hurts thinking about you guys going out there. I'm like, oh, no thanks.
I know when we played juniors, like when we'd get done with my game, my knees were swollen every game, bruised and swollen from falling down and
Yeah.
um, just getting in the mix in the corner because I was always in the mix in the corner all the time. There was no questions asked.
No, no, that's why I think Paul always thinks your first name is Ray. And I love it too, because no matter how many times we talk about you, he still calls you Ray Lewis. And he had me screwed up for a little while, because I was like, is there two Lewises? Am I screwing this up? And I was like, oh no, it's just Ryan Lewis. And yeah, he calls them.
I know I wasn't. I. It took me a while to realize he was calling me that. I'm like, is he calling me Ray? I'm like, and then finally I was like, I go, hey Paul, my name's Ryan, not Ray. And he's like, I've been calling you Ray this whole time. He's like, well, I'm gonna call you Ray anyways. And I'm like, oh, okay.
He's 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 shot, and if you don't know Paul, you'd be like, "What is the matter with him?" But yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind of the way he is.
No, I like Paul. I think he's a hell of a promoter. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, now one thing I was trying to say to a lot of guys is, you've got a lot of guys who got a lot of box experience that wouldn't have playing for Paul and having that team. This PBLA, I think, is only going to make that league, the NABLL, grow. You know, guys need to get more experience, and not everybody can travel to Canada to play, or up to the Northeast to play on one of the reservation Can-Am circuits, because the yeah, there's no, I mean, they're starting to get more and more. You're starting to get the spurts. Like you said, you guys were getting applications from all over the place with guys playing. But yeah, I think this is going to make that NABLL league explode quite a bit too.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, and like they were saying, though, they might have to change some of the rules because they said we're only allowed 2 pro players or something. And
Three,
if is it 3?
three.
And if these guys make these teams, now we're gonna like cut our league in half because a lot are from our league.
Now, the other thing is, though, are you considered a pro player just because you're coaching?
I was wondering that same thing. I was gonna ask about it, and I would assume no, but
You would hope no, but
I,
technically it's, you kind of get into that gray area there, because like a practice player, is he a pro player then, or is he, just like an assistant? So,
I guess that's a good question. We'll
the
have to bring that up.
yeah, I mean, otherwise, if you really think about it, the Yeti are going to be in some big trouble, because you've got, just on the Bombers team, and then I know a couple guys that have gone a couple other places. You're looking at 10 guys, and so you're losing
Yeah,
7. The Yeti would be
yeah,
only allowed to keep 3 of you.
yeah.
Woo!
I guess we'll have to have a fight and practice for it.
Because everybody's gonna want to stay in the Yetis. They definitely, that's a cool thing, and I really hope you guys. I'm hoping you guys get to play at the Nexus. I hope they do the spring training thing like every year at the Nexus, because then I'll try to set it up where, like, hey, I'll come spend a couple weekends. We'll do some Nexus Center spring training PBLA
Yeah,
videos. But
yeah, that'd be good.
all right, well, I will let you get to bed. I appreciate your time.
You can look at that championship game and find those boots.
I will. I am definitely looking for the boots now that you've told me which one. I cannot wait. I tell you, it's been a blast. All right, well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Lewis. I appreciate it. Wish you guys nothing but the best. And now, is this the last week of training camp?
One more week.
Okay.
It's one more week,
So,
and then that's then cuts after that, and so.
all right, I will be in touch, and can't wait to talk to you.
All right, sounds good, Greg. Thank you.
Thanks, but talk to you later.
Yeah, take care.